各位，如果世界依然把人工智能理解为一个模型、一段代码或者一次资本的泡沫，那么真正的竞争已经在看不见的地方开始了。英伟达创始人兼 CEO 黄仁勋这一次长时间讨论反复强调的，并不是技术有多先进，而是一个更不舒服的现实。人工智能正在重塑整个技术的堆栈，从能源到芯片，从云基础设施再到模型和应用，没有任何的一层可以缺席。这意味着 AI 并不是一个行业，而是一场系统性的重组。而美国和中国之间的关系正处于这一场重组的正中央。外界常常高估了脱钩的可行性，但低估了彼此依赖的深度。每一次的尝试切断连接，都会暴露出新的依赖点。这不是短期的现象，而是将持续整个世纪的结构性关系。真正重要的不是谁赢一次对抗，而是谁能在不引发冲突的情况下管理这一种关系。通过谈判、沟通、妥协都不是软弱，而是维持系统稳定的必要条件。极端化的情绪判断反而会让关系失控。而在人工智能领域，这一种依赖体现得尤为明显。全球大量核心研究人员来自中国，他们参与构建，是一个跨国、跨市场的技术体系。而竞争真实存在，但竞争并不必然排斥合作。问题不在于谁希望谁赢，而在于是否有健康竞争持续存在。而更关键的是， AI 的重要性不在于模型的本身，而在于它对现实世界的改造能力。它需要能源，需要芯片，需要遍布全球的基础设施。如果没有足够的电力增量，没有制造能力，没有云网络，那么再先进的模型也无法落地。在这一意义上，能源政策、产业政策与国家安全已经被绑在了同一条线上。技术领先不只是工程的问题，而是系统治理的问题。在芯片层面的完全封锁，只会加速对方建立平行的体系，并把中东、亚洲和全球南方推向其他的技术阵营。而问题因此变得异常简单。这一些新兴地区的人工智能基础设施，究竟建立在谁的技术上呢？从这一个角度来看，放弃市场并不是安全的策略，而是自我削弱。技术领先如果不能转化为市场的存在，就无法反扑给产业、财政和安全体系。人工智能最终会改变每一个行业、每一家公司、每一个国家。生产力会被重新定义， GDP 的规模也不会有明确的上限。问题不是工作会否消失，而是谁能够率先利用这一种工具，把更多人带进创造体系里面。历史从未偏爱拒绝技术的人，而每一次工业革命都淘汰了旧的岗位，同时也创造了更多的就业机会。不同之处在于，这一次拒绝使用人工智能本身就有可能会成为失业的原因，所以这并不是泡沫，这是一次底层结构的迁移，而这一次迁移已经无法暂停了。让我们看一下视频。
The reason why we invest is several reasons. One is to expand our ecosystem. If you look at the investments that we will likely make and have made up to now, and you compare it to the revenues that we're generating, it's in the low single digits. And so that kind of tells you how could low single digits create circularity. And then very importantly, this is the last reason, these are consequential companies, most important companies of our time, and we have the opportunity to have a front row seat partnership with them. We kind of also have, if you will, inside information about how successful they're doing. And so the opportunity to invest in them, it's going to turn out to be a great investment. The world is unaware of how deeply dependent the United States and China are to each other. The ideas that floated around about United States decoupling from China, I think is is flawed. And our dependency on each other is quite significant. And it's deeper than people think. And every single time we press it, we realize what else we're dependent on each other on. That this will be the most consequential relationship in the next century. If this is so, I think that we really ought to recognize that managing the relationship and not causing conflict is the most important thing we could do. And so negotiations, communications, compromise, and just the continuous process of doing that is essential. And I think the current administration has demonstrated incredible wisdom in engaging, whether it's Hegseth with the military, whether it's Bessent and Treasury, President Trump himself, Ambassador Greer, all of them representing us, engaging deeply in conversations there. Deeply wise. And I think it'll demonstrate that a century from now, that impactful change versus isolation and avoidance. And I think that's important. I think the second thing that I would say that the world didn't realize is how deeply dependent we are in the AI industry on the brilliant students and the brilliant scientists of China. 50% of the world's AI researchers are from China. Their companies in China want China to win. I think that's terrific. And I think the Chinese want China to win. I think that's terrific. We want America to win. And we can have a healthy competition while we compete fairly, and collaborate at the same time. But I think taking it emotionally too far from that results in consequences in relationships that are just harder to manage. So first of all, it's really important to understand what AI is. AI is not just a model. What AI is a full stack of reinvention of every single layer of the technology stack. AI is about energy. That's the reason why we're talking about energy all the time. When President Trump came into office and he was pro-energy growth, if it wasn't because of his posture on energy growth, the United States would have been in a very bad way. We would have had no energy, no incremental energy necessary to grow this incredibly important industry. So his growth posture, his energy growth policy is incredibly helpful. But we have to win every other layer as well. The next layer is chips. The layer after that is infrastructure, cloud services. The layer after that, large language models or AI models. And of course, very importantly, AI applications. The United States has, if we hope to take advantage of this next industrial revolution, and this will be the largest industrial revolution of all of the industrial revolutions. And so every layer of that stack, we must be determined to win. But if we allow all of the layers to only be as successful as the least successful layer, then the United States will fall behind, no doubt. Our belief, and what I've explained, is that in the layer of chips, the single most important thing is to make sure that every single model in the world runs on American tech stack, and that the American tech stack is everywhere in the world, so that American tech stack becomes, if you will, the global standard. There's a belief that somehow, if we provided American chips to foreign countries, and specifically China, that the Chinese military would be building their military and building airplanes and aircraft carriers using American chips. Well, first of all, they have plenty of their own chips, and their companies are formidable. The idea that China does not have technology industry, we now know, is lunacy. And the idea that China is not able to manufacture would suggest somebody has had their head deeply in the sand. The ability for us to engage the China market, compete freely there, earn our business is great for America. It's great for the American people. It allows us to generate revenues for the United States. And as you know, the country that is most secure, has the mightiest military, is because it's also the wealthiest country. And so we want America to be the wealthiest country so that we can fund the mightiest military. And I think that is our way of contributing to national security. we realized that on the one hand, we would like to limit American technology to China. On the other hand, we would like to participate in their market. It is exactly the opposite for them. They would like their Chinese companies to have access to the best technology so that different layers of the AI stack can flourish. And while it gives their local technology companies an opportunity to catch up. They would like to access American technology, but they would also like to dominate their own market. And so these two ideas are true in both countries. And so the best answer is to let the system work itself out. I think we need a nuanced answer, nuanced policy where American companies have access to the most advanced technology, American technology. Meanwhile, allowing American companies to go participate in the world's second largest market. Invasion would, or any conflict. I've not heard of any specific plans, but any conflict should be reduced, and so we shouldn't play a role in increasing conflict. I think it's very clear that President Trump is a president of peace, and seeks out for peace. With respect to semiconductor manufacturing, I think it's very clear that as the industry grows, having resilience is important. We don't need to decouple. We need to enhance resilience. And so the ability to manufacture in multiple sites in multiple continents, whether electricity reasons or weather reasons or earthquake reasons, whatever the reasons are, having diversity and redundancy in the most critical supply chain is just wise. We will depend on Taiwan to manufacture chips and electronics for decades to come. Their people, their culture, just their network of ecosystems and companies that are built around each other, the efficiency of that island in building electronics and chips is unheard of, unbelievable. It's going to take decades to replicate that. The reason for that is very clear. Never push an adversary or anyone to the wall. It's wisdom to ensure that we don't elevate the tension of any relationship. And when you take things to an extreme, for example, all or nothing, those extremes are causes reflexes and outcomes that are unintended and unexpected. And so I think the moderation, having a nuanced strategy where United States, especially, the technology is built here in the United States, and NVIDIA is an American company. America has every right to ensure that American companies in America has the best and the most. We have every right, and we do that. We ensure that, and that's a natural way of how we do business. But also to make available to our technology so that we can participate and compete in the global market so that the United States could have the largest possible technology footprint. That's a wise thing to do. And so I think it's in our interest to do that. I think it's in their interest, with all due respect, that NVIDIA's technology is quite advanced, and we could be helpful and to be in service of the technology companies in China. And we'd appreciate the opportunity to compete and go earn our opportunities there. And so to that extent, and we don't cause disruptions or cause panic or whatever the emotional feelings are. Of course, they'll keep the tension low and it'll keep the relationship balanced. AI is impactful and consequential for every single company and every industry and every nation. And the Middle East will absolutely develop AI capability for their ecosystem. Would we like the Middle East to be built on the American tech stack? Or would we like the Middle East to be built on somebody else's tech stack? That's really the simple question. And the idea of conceding technology leadership the idea of conceding a massive market made no sense to President Trump. And for what reason, whatever the reasons of the previous administration for conceding, for forfeiting tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars of market opportunity to another country when we don't have to, when we have the world's best technology, forfeiting just doesn't make sense to President Trump.
You just got back from DC where the Saudi Crown Prince, MBS, was in town. You attended a dinner. What did you talk about?
He was very happy with the licenses of the GPUs, NVIDIA GPUs for the KSA. He was very complimentary of the work that we've been doing. Of course, His Royal Highness is both an avid gamer, and his home is populated with NVIDIA GeForce. He has a esports room with tens of PCs, the highest end gaming PCs, and underneath the desk is all GeForce. And so he's a big fan of GeForce. He's been a customer of GeForce for a very long time, and he's really delighted by the partnership that we have in AI, and grateful for everything that we've done to help him get to this point. And so he was just very, very happy. What AI will do is to make tasks that we do in our job more efficient. Our job is not to wrangle a spreadsheet. Our job is not to type into a keyboard. Our job is generally more meaningful than that. I'm fairly confident that AI will drive productivity, revenue growth, and therefore more hiring. There's a belief that the world's GDP is somehow limited at $100 trillion. Well, what's likely to happen is AI is going to cause that $100 trillion to become $200 trillion, $300 trillion, $500 trillion. There's no fundamental limit to the size of a GDP. And the number of people in the world that is participating in this GDP, in the $100 trillion GDP, is actually quite small. And so what if we brought the rest of the world, the rest of society, the rest of the world's population, empower them with AI, give them the opportunity to participate in the GDP, and cause this GDP to quintuple? I think that's a very likely outcome. And it's very likely that companies will become more prosperous. But it's for certain. This is for certain. Everybody's jobs will change as a result of AI. Some jobs will disappear. Obviously, every single industrial revolution, some jobs are just gone, but a whole bunch of new jobs are created. Everybody will have to use AI, because if you don't use AI, you're going to lose your job to somebody who does.